It was 11 a.m. on the 14th of January 2006. 52-year-old Brian, an electrician of northern Perth, Australia, was scuba diving and spearfishing 2 miles offshore from a place called City Beach. With what information we have gathered on this story, Brian, as far as we can tell, was with at least 2 other divers that were spearfishing with him. Brian's attack came about the same time as the occupants of a boat, which was in the area near to the location of Brian's unoccupied dive vessel, were being circled by an 11.5-foot great white shark. With the occupants seeing the dive boat nearby with a dive flag up in the water and with no one on board. Immediately upon seeing the shark in the vicinity of the dive boat, one of the occupants used a cell phone and called the police, who then suggested that the occupants of the boat try to warn the divers down below of the danger of a great white shark in their area. Shortly after all of this transpired, Brian had come to the surface, but by then he had already been attacked. Just before the attack upon Brian, he somehow gotten separated from the other 2 divers. One of the divers had a shark shield device, a commercial underwater electronic shark repellent that produces an electronic field around a diver to aid in repelling sharks from getting too close. The shark shield device seems to have aided the 2 other divers that had gotten separated from Brian to safely make their way back to the dive boat and get out of the water and back on board. While Brian was diving and spearfishing, the great white came up behind him, biting him in his left arm and dragging him through the water, and attempted to take a second bite out of him. Fighting off the shark with his spear gun, he wrenched his arm free and fled to a seabed crevice until he did not see the shark any longer, and then ascended to the surface. Lifeguards finally arrived and pulled Brian from the water, taking him to shore in an inflatable rescue boat. He was taken to a nearby hospital by ambulance. The Shark Patrol aircraft and a fisheries police vessel went to the area where Brian was attacked to search for the shark that had attacked him, but came up empty-handed with no sighting of the shark. When later interviewed about his attack, Brian states that when he does get into the water, he will definitely be looking over his shoulder. He went on to say that he was confident of going back into the water, but it's probably still going to be a bit hairy for a while, hoping there are no issues that may arise in his mind about it all. But it's like everything else. If he's just not comfortable, or it starts to get too worrying, then maybe he'll have to take up golf. In the months after the attack, Brian further states that he does not have nightmares about the attack, but every time he watches a wildlife program and sees any sharks in one, it brings back the horrifying memories of the attack. Immediately following the traumatic attack, Brian has had to have plastic surgery on his wound. The shark's teeth slit up the side of the bone in his arm, chipping a piece of bone and just missing an artery and the nerve buckle, leaving a scar 4 inches long. It went straight in, and luckily when he attempted to pull his arm out of the shark's mouth, it immediately came straight out. Brian's arm around the scarring stayed numb without any feeling, with doctors telling him that the feeling will come back within a span of several years. 3 weeks after the attack, Brian was back at work, and in the end, a very lucky man, to have come away with the most valuable possession of all, his life.